Well, we have heard complaint after complaint from those living near the Suncor refinery. They say they've suffered enough, and even though the plant's been around for decades, residents say the pollution is getting worse.
And case in point, today a surprise industrial snow that fell on their yards after Suncor and nearby refineries vented steam. And now the state's deciding whether to renew the plant's operating permit.
As Denver 7's Sloan Dickey reports tonight, residents are calling for more accountability.
William Clay
I try to do brakes myself because
takes his family's safety into his own hands.
that's what saves your life.
But when it comes to environmental safety,
Suncor is right to the southwest of us.
there's not much he can do.
Suncor's had a few problems the last couple years.
Right now, the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment is deciding whether to renew Suncor's operating permit. The Title V permit has to be renewed every 5 years. It regulates the type and amount of pollutants that can be released into the atmosphere. But for neighbors of the plant, this past year has been particularly difficult.
You see the clouds and then it just kind of comes over and you go, what's that?
Last year, ash clouds released from the refinery settled over neighboring communities.
It's like a soot, basically.
And neighbors say the smell from the refinery is getting worse.
Like a lot of Coloradans, I like having my windows open, and especially at night. And about, like she said, 11 o'clock, between 11 and 1, it's just like clockwork. It just stinks.
The state says the permit will likely be renewed.
It's not a great way to necessarily dialogue around issues. Doesn't do a great job in finding ways to improve performance at the facility, to find rules and regulations that actually reduce the environmental impacts from the facility.
But the goal of the permit renewal, regulators say, is to slowly cut down on emissions.
You know, I don't think that you're ever going to see a year where you don't have some problems at the facility. It's a complex facility, and you know, it's consistent with how other refineries operate. So what we expect is improvement.
For many neighbors of the refinery, the Suncor plant means jobs and income.
Suncor has been here forever. It's part of the community. I believe it's what built, the community was built around it.
But others say if they can't clean up their actions,
If they can't clean up how they're doing and what they're doing, then, you know, just for the safety of the neighborhood and the citizens here in Commerce City, they need to move.
it may be time for them to move on.
Now, Denver 7 has reached out to Suncor for comment on the permitting process, but has not heard back. But just today, the company is dealing with its own environmental issues, and it has to do with that massive flame that you see behind me. The company said in a statement earlier today that it experienced a leak in some of its refining equipment, and that you will likely see flaring from the facility as they figure out what went wrong. Now, as to the permit, there is a public comment period that opens on February 17th for that Title V permit for the operating, and it will be open for 30 days. Reporting live in Commerce City, Sloan Dickey, Denver 7.